As I crossed off the day on my calendar, I couldn't believe it was already 6 months since I've been in the witness protection program. I was given a new look and a new name, but I wasn't allowed to live on my own yet. I didn't have access to a television, phone, or any device that I could interact with the outside world, though. I must admit, though, that it was nice being this close to Ryan again and fully understanding what he did for a living. Even though he tried to make my transition into my new life as easy as possible, not a day went by without me thinking about Jelani and the revenge I planned to wreak on his sorry life. Before I continue with my story, thank you for getting my first story to 20,000 likes. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our amazing channel. Tap that notification bell so you will get updates when we post new content. After 6 months of obeying every rule that Ryan gave me, he now trusted me to go out on my own. I took full advantage of this, and the first place I went, you guessed it, was to Jelani's house with his little family to tell his wife that her husband was a cheat and a very horrible person. Well, not exactly in those PG-13 words, but you get the idea. I pounded on the door. "Jelani, you better open this door, you little piece of
Hey!
Someone called from behind me. I turned to see an elderly man with a friendly face holding a bag of groceries in his hands.
Can I help you?
He asked as he walked towards me. I cleared my throat. Yes, I'm looking for a friend of mine. His name is Jelani.
I'm afraid you have the wrong house. My wife and I have been living here for the past 30 years.
Are you sure? The man laughed.
Pretty sure.
The man then proceeded to show me pictures of him and his wife on a cruise. After politely looking at the photos, I thanked him and walked away. Jelani couldn't have just disappeared. One of these neighbors must have seen something. I went from house to house trying to find out if any saw Jelani and his wife. I finally got a breakthrough when one neighbor said that he did see someone in the house. He said the person told him he was house-sitting for his uncle while they were away. I asked the man if he saw them when they left. He said that the child and the woman left first, and a few days after that, the young man left with a heavily tattooed man. I thanked the man and caught the bus back to the safe house. As I sat in the bus, my mind played the information that I just got. The tattooed man sounded like the one we encountered at the warehouse, and it also solidified Ryan's story where Jelani and the men were working together on this all along. I figured that I might as well visit our old home to see if Jelani left any clues as to where he was going next. As I approached the door, about to insert the key, I heard familiar voices inside. I snuck around to the side of the house and peered into the window. There he was, the big tattooed guy. I listened closely.
Raul, the boss said he wants us to meet him. He needs to speed the process up. But what about the girl?
The tattooed man said.
The boss said he's handling it. We need to leave now. Jelani is tied up and he isn't going anywhere.
I sat down in the bushes, my face drained. Jelani's here? But why was he captive if he's working with these men? Where was his wife and child? Maybe Ryan got his information wrong. I watched as the men left the house. As soon as they were out of sight, I slithered into the house and looked for Jelani. Every other door was locked except one. I opened the door with the keys that I had. There he was, Jelani, handcuffed to the burglar proof. His hair and beard had grown out, and he was dirty and scruffy. My eyes filled with tears as flashes from that dreadful night 6 months ago emerged. I wanted to yell and scream at Jelani, but seeing him like this broke my heart. I rushed towards him. Jelani, we need to get you out of here. I tugged at the handcuffs.
Cindy, is that you?
Jelani opened his eyes and focused them on me. Yes, it's me. I need to get you out of here.
You can't. They have the keys. Listen to me, Cindy. You are in danger here. They are looking for you.
I know. That's why I'm in the witness protection program. Ryan is one of the agents guarding me.
Okay, great.
He smiled wearily.
I'm happy you are safe. I wanted you to know that everything you saw and everything you were told is a lie. They said if I didn't do as they said, they would hurt you.
What can I do to help? I can't just leave you here.
You'll have to. Call Devin and tell him you found me. He'll have some people that may be able to help.
Devin? Who owns the restaurant? I looked at him weirdly.
Babe, Devin had a life before opening his restaurant. Trust me. Call Devin.
Suddenly, we heard footsteps outside the room.
Hide behind the door. I'll distract them when they come in.
I waited next to the door. Beads of sweat ran down my face. The door swung open and I placed my hand over my mouth for fear that I would scream.
Hey, uglies! I'm ready to talk.
Jelani shouted. The two men walked into the room. Raul grabbed Jelani by his shirt.
Well, it's about time. I just wanted to let you know that your mother passed by and she's not as good as she used to be, if you know what I'm saying. You little punk.
I watched as Raul punched Jelani in his stomach before the other one stepped in. Jelani's eyes pleaded with mine to run. I I snuck out of the room and out of the house. I ran until I was out of breath. I couldn't believe that ordering a package on Amazon could cause so much trouble. Immediately, I went to the restaurant and found Devin and told him everything. He told me that he heard Jelani was mixed up in something, but he didn't realize it was this bad.
Jelani and I have been friends for over 10 years, and he's always had my back. Don't worry, Cindy. I'll get him back to you.
Thank you.
Before I forget,
Devin went behind the counter and retrieved a phone.
Here you go. I'll give you a call as soon as I have Jelani.
I'm not allowed phones in the safe house.
Then hide it and keep it safe.
I took the phone from Devin, thanked him for everything, and left. Next morning, I saw Ryan in the kitchen making coffee.
Want some?
He lifted the coffee mug in my direction. Sure. I sat by the kitchen table. Ryan handed me a cup of coffee and sipped his own as he sat next to me. Did you know about Jelani? I looked at him closely.
Yes, but you have to understand, we needed to keep you safe.
So you thought that lying to me is keeping me safe? I now remember why our relationship ended in the first place, because you never told me the truth about anything. I got up from the table and began to walk away, but Ryan grabbed my arm.
How did you know about Jelani?
I rolled my eyes. You're the secret agent. Figure it out.
They probably know you're here.
I watched as Ryan began to bark orders behind the other agents. He told them that he had been compromised and we needed to leave now. He told me that I had 5 minutes to pack whatever I needed. He turned away from me and made a few phone calls. I went to my room and threw my things in my bag, including the phone Devin gave me.
Let's go! Let's go!
Ryan yelled as the agents ran around collecting their last-minute items. He grabbed my hand and let me outside, where a helicopter was waiting. Ryan, Chris, and I got into the helicopter while the other agents sped away in black vans. As we were up in the sky, we saw a few men drive up to the safe house and set it on fire. It wasn't until 4 a.m. the next morning that Devin messaged me. He told me that I wasn't safe at the new safe house, and there was a mole in the agency. Were you able to get Jelani out? I messaged. The phone rang and I answered quickly.
Hi, babe, it's me. I just needed to hear your voice.
Are you okay now? I asked. Jelani told me that he was fine, and Devin organized a private plane for us to leave the country so we could start our new life together. I had to meet them later that day by Wallerfield Hangar at 6 p.m. to meet the plan. I agreed before I hung up. That day, I stayed in the room assigned to me until it was 5 p.m. I grabbed my things and snuck out of the safe house. When I got to the hangar, Jelani hopped out of the car and ran towards me. I threw my arms around him and hugged him tightly before kissing him deeply. Devin got out of the car and I thanked him for helping us.
There's one more thing I must do before we board the plane.
Devin said. What's that? I raised my eyebrow.
We have to do an x-ray to make sure they didn't leave any computer chips in you. Follow me.
I looked at Jelani, who nodded and urged me to go with Devin. During the x-ray, Devin found a microchip at the back of my neck, close to my hairline. How on earth did that get there?
It means they already know where you are, and we need to get it out quickly.
He injected me with a painkiller and removed the chip. I asked how he knew where to look for it. He said when he was younger, he was caught up in the wrong crowd, so he knew a few things about tracking people and removing trackers. He said if it wasn't for his uncle, that he would still be caught up in that lifestyle. I couldn't believe that Ryan was tracking me all this time. Once the chip was out, we boarded the plane. I leaned against Jelani's arm, and that's where I fell asleep. It was the first time in months that I felt safe. After a few hours, we landed in a small town called Paramin. Devin gave Jelani and I money to get a few new things. He told us that he had a special dinner planned for the both of us in celebration of the new life we were going to start together. After shopping, Jelani and I were both exhausted and took a rest before dressing for dinner. What do you think Devin has planned for us? I asked Jelani as I squeezed his hand as we walked to the little boardwalk where Devin told us to meet him. Jelani was now shaved and looking like his old self, minus the cuts and bruises on his face.
Honestly, I don't care as long as I get to spend time with you. Good evening, ladies and gent.
Devin bowed playfully as we approached the table with the candlelight dinner.
Tonight, I just want you to enjoy your meal with each other.
Devin said as we sat down, and he revealed the food under the silver trays. Dinner was great. Jelani and I had overcome so much in the past few months. At this point, I just wanted us to get married so we wouldn't waste any more time. After dinner, Devin came out.
Devin, everything was delicious, man. Thank you so much.
Jelani shook his friend's hand.
It's my pleasure, but the night is not over yet. Just wait and see what you guys are having for dessert.
We watched as Devin walked away and called for the waiter to bring out the dessert tray. Jelani and I looked at each other when we realized who it was. It was Judge Tom Morgan. Jelani and I stood up, and the judge removed a gun that was covered down on the table.
You two have cost me a lot of trouble and money over the past few months. I think it's time to end it.
Devin came out from the serving area.
What the hell is going on? We trusted you. I trusted you.
Jelani's voice cracked. Devin laughed.
Let me introduce you to my uncle, Tom Morgan. He works for me. When I got a call from my leak in Amazon, I took the opportunity to ship the watch to you in hopes that Jelani would have worn it that night, since it was too risky to ship it directly to me. If he did, we would have grabbed it and released him and everything would have gone back to normal. And you guys wouldn't have been none the wiser.
He turned to me.
Babe, I'm so sorry I got you mixed up in all this.
Here we are, the same place we were 6 months ago. I closed my eyes and whispered I love you to Jelani, knowing that there was no coming back from this. Just then, I heard an officer yell,
Mr. Tom Morgan and Devin Hardy, you are under arrest.
I opened my eyes and saw a swarm of police officers running onto the boardwalk. Jelani and I breathed a sigh of relief when officers handcuffed Devin and Judge Morgan and took them away.
Why, hello there.
Ryan's voice was calm in the midst of the chaos. How did you find us? I asked.
Well, being the secret agent that I am, I tracked you with the phone Devin gave you.
My ears reddened. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Ryan hugged me tightly, then shook Jelani's hand.
We've been looking into Devin for some time, and with your help, we were able to take him down tonight. Thanks to you and Jelani. You two are now free to live your lives.
Ryan gave us a number to call in case we ever needed any help in the future. Jelani and I eloped the next day and moved to another country with the check we received from the government for helping them. I still get nightmares sometimes, but knowing that I have people on my side who I can trust, I know that whatever the future holds, I'll be ready for it.